Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it's time for current events in the online fitness community. The old Jason's back. You know, I'm at a point with this industry where there's no point in me being nice anymore. I've tried to be nice for years. The industry's gotten worse and worse. I'm gonna get a sip of my water. My radio voice going, let's talk about this. Let's talk a little bit about Sam Sulek. Now, I want to be clear, this is nothing personal. I have no personal vendetta against the guy. I have no grudge against this kid. I have no knowledge or opinions of whether he is a good or a bad human being at all. And it's really irrelevant, okay? It doesn't have to be Sam. Anyone else could be in this same position, and that's the problem. I said years ago, I used to talk about this, and I used to say, and say, look, tons of coaches are saying this. All the coaches say this. This has been written about in books about bodybuilding, that a lot of pro bodybuilders don't know anything. They don't know anything about training. They're literally just genetics and stuff. Tons of it, though. That's the difference. There's a dose-dependent response, and that's what people forget. The studies show that. The more people use, the more muscle they gain. Okay? It's a diminished return, but it keeps going up. And I've had people hear me say that, and they go, so wait a minute, what's stopping some of these kids then from just getting massive? If they don't have to know that much about training and they just need to eat enough, and if they just, instead of using this amount that a lot of people use, even if it's a diminished return, what's stopping them from just using 10 times that amount? Nothing but the cost. That's it. Nothing but the cost and the fear of dying. That's it. The cost is different. Sorry, I'm not going to go into any details. We live in a different environment. We live in a different market, a different world. Stuff's just not that expensive anymore. I used to talk about that. I used to be like, well, a lot of these bodybuilders, that's why they were doing the G for P. They can't afford. They couldn't afford it. We don't live in that world anymore. Supply and demand, black markets, people get access to things at 10 to 20% sometimes of what it was costing back then. You see where we're going? So if stuff is that much cheaper, guys with no real money are mega dosing. Remember even Dante wrote about his cycling for pennies back in the day? For pennies now people can double what was in that article. Okay, triple. The world we live in. So people are like, well, what's stopping anyone from doing it? That's it. And Sam is a perfect example of one of these kids who, you know, had an okay starting build. He wasn't big and just exploded. Now, people are like, well, it must be genetics. No, his genetics aren't that great because you can tell from the side effects. Okay? He got massive. The problem is that it's made him popular. He blew up on the internet as this shy guy, wasn't particularly outgoing, a little awkward, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's relatable to people. Okay, a lot of the guys who are getting into lifting, that's marketable to them. That's a selling point because a lot of them feel that way. That's why they want to get into lifting and get jacked. I can respect that. I want to be clear. A lot of us can respect it. We understand that. That's real common. And it's not a bad thing about a person. So I want to be clear. I'm not making fun of anybody for that. There's literally nothing wrong with that. That made him relatable to a lot of the shy, awkward guys who are wanting to get into lifting. Like that was super relatable, but then he got really massive. Hey, the issue is that now people are imitating and taking his training advice. The problem, if you guys watch what multiple experts in the field, look at guys who are jacked. Look at some of the guys who are jacked, who actually have advanced degrees or PhDs in exercise science, who've chimed in and said he has no clue what he's doing. He really doesn't. He is at a novice level of knowledge. He's got the level of knowledge that you would expect from a kid who's been going to the gym a couple years, didn't learn a lot, has a bunch of goofy partials on machines, a lot of ego lifting on machines. He is doing stuff that if someone was not on anything, they probably wouldn't really get big. They really wouldn't. And some of it different. You know, he is doing some heavy squatting and some deep squatting. So, the quads, yes. A lot of the back stuff, a lot of the chest stuff, a lot of the other stuff, it's actually subpar. Like a decent coach could take novice lifters and put them on better programming than that. all the time. The issue is because he's gotten results, everyone's like, well, he must know what he's doing. And so when people say, no, he really doesn't. Well, how do you explain his size? And you're like, stuff he's using. It's very clear because, again, it's when we say he doesn't know what he's doing, meaning when we look at anatomy, we look at muscle stimulus, we look at studies on muscle stimulus and growth, what he is doing is not very good. He is not stimulating even 80 or 90% of what he could be with better training. So what then is your explanation? The stuff. You know, people go, but lots of people use stuff. Dose dependent. That's like saying, well, this guy over here got really, really intoxicated, but this guy didn't and he drinks. Right? If we put it in that perspective, people would get it. You'd be like, well, more alcohol makes people, you know, raises their blood levels more. There's a larger effect in the body. Right? So if a person drinks this amount of alcohol, or they drink 10 times or 20 times that amount, there's a different effect in the body. Okay, see where we're going? That is where we're going. And when I say that, that is literally what I mean. I'm not talking about he's using a little more than maybe the average person who does stuff. It's like 10 times. The side effects are very visible. And that is something else I pointed out. He is not going to be here in 10 years. I guarantee you. He will not be here in 10 years. He'll be gone. And that's not saying that to be mean. You can already see the negative health effects. All right? Watch the breathing. Watch the other stuff. He is not in shape. And I mean in shape as in conditioning-wise. He is unhealthy. He has already signs that you would expect to see from an extremely overweight middle-aged man. Okay, a guy who's in his 30s who's 300 to 400 pounds. Look at the level of breathing. All right? The amount of face acne. Look at the signs of chest inflammation, cardiac inflammation. It's all already there. In his early 20s. Kid like, what, 21? Dallas McCarver, anyone? Didn't even make it to 30. What are you, 26, 27? Yeah. Same thing, guys. So the problem is that this is now showing everyone that, oh, if you just do that, because a lot of people will pick up on it, it's going to create a trend. Look how popular you can get if you're just willing to do this. This is a problem. And then they're gone in 5, 6, 7 years. That's it. Again, Dallas McCarver. Okay, look at the growth rates of Sam and they compare that to Dallas McCarver at the same age. You saw the autopsy. You saw the autopsy. That is what's going to happen. It's unfortunate. It's tragic. It's also self-inflicted. It is a conscious choice. All right? It's a conscious choice that he made. He knows that it's reckless. But if he didn't do it, someone else was going to. So that is what's happening, guys. But the training is bad, and people are then imitating the piss-poor training, and that's the problem. That's the biggest issue. He's giving bad training advice. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.